everybody, welcome back to another bass lesson. My name is Ryan Medora, and today we are talking about playing in the key of E and why it is so awesome to use this key on the electric bass and why it's so versatile, especially when it comes to funk music and things like that. So if you want to get other things to accompany this video and really everything here at this channel, please head over to my Patreon page and you can support there, get tab notation, all the things. But in the meantime, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and let's talk a little bit about playing in the key of E. Now, an important thing to know is that different instruments have different keys that feel particularly comfortable. Like if you're a keyboard player, playing in the key of C is super easy. No sharps, no flats, all the white keys, everything's under your fingers, and it's really easy to kind of just like play a C major scale. Other instruments like saxophones usually love playing in like F or B flat because those are easier keys for them to play in. And for us, guitar players, bass players, things that live in this world, we love the key of E. And the reason for that is because we have this fretboard geography that is really well suited to this key because of a couple things. One, we have our open E string. What a sound, right? We have the lowest note of our bass, the open E. And then if we go to the midpoint of the neck round here, the 7th fret of my A string, I have the octave E. And then I have another octave even higher up here on the 9th fret of my G string. And what that means is that like with very little movement, we can cover a lot of ground and specifically cover about 2 octaves without having to do too many shifts. Meaning that if I were to play an E major scale from here, I can use my 4-fret span. I don't have to shift at all. And if I want to play down, I can kind of put my pinky finger here on this E, and I can play down almost all the way. I have to go one little shift, and then I can play my open E string. Now that's for an E major scale, but again, I can play a 2-octave E major scale by playing open E, first finger for scale degree 2, shift it up a whole step for scale degree 3, and then finish out with my 4-fret span. I can then take this, shift it up 2 frets, and play all the way up to my next octave. So we have a lot of notes that we can cover in the key of E, especially E major, if we stay right here. Now, if we happen to be playing in E minor, we have even more fun things, which is that like when we're playing our E minor scale or our E minor pentatonic, the moves that we make are really easy. They're under our fingers, meaning if we're playing our E minor pentatonic, we're going to play our root note, our minor 3rd, our 4th, 5th, our minor 7th or flat 7th, and then the octave. And if we use that positioning, we have this kind of like 5-fret span that goes from starting our middle finger here, using our index finger for the 3rd, middle finger, pinky, middle finger, pinky. And then when we land here, if we land with our pinky on this E, I can use that same positioning to play the octave down, meaning pinky on the higher E, using my middle finger for the flat 7, pinky for the 5th, middle finger for the 4th, index finger for the flat 3rd, and then land at my open E. So if I go up, that's a 2-octave E minor pentatonic scale. Now again, I'm not having to shift a whole lot to be able to do this, which means that so many funk riffs and things like that, fills, whatever, are really under your fingers and can be found in the key of E. It's not like you're playing in the key of G. If we're playing in the key of G, play a G major scale, we're there. We only have a couple notes lower. Like we can only go down to the 6th if we're playing in the key of G, and then we run out of notes. You know, if we go all the way up, we have to shift and do some big jumps to do a full like 2-octave G major scale. That's not the case in the key of E. It's all kind of like right here. So if we're playing a funk groove, you know, like so many things are really easy to grab. And especially if you use that kind of like 5-fret span configuration for minor pentatonic, that's really going to put things under your fingers. So I hope you found this lesson useful. And remember that when you go and you learn some kind of like funkier bass lines, if you realize it's in the key of E, you're like, oh wow, like that's something that obviously the bass player was able to kind of like navigate a little bit easier than had it been in another key. You also may find that there's some records that are in E flat. So if you listen to like Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan and stuff like that, everything that they're playing in E flat is really kind of being played in the key of E, but just a half step down because the instrument itself is tuned a half step down. And a lot of the moves on those records are, played in the key of E, even though it's technically E flat because of the half step down instrument. But regardless of that, the moves that you can make and staying in that key and having that open string, middle point, octave here, that all applies. So I hope you dug this. I hope it influences some of the things that you get to do on the instrument. And happy practicing, everybody. Keep it groovy.